There's a part where one of the gray gorillas loses its arm from this laser.
That's probably the campiest part of the whole movie. And also Laura Linney's line where she says, put him on the endangered species list right before she like mows down the gorillas with the laser. Sublime. I love that part so much. Hello and welcome to Camp Kaiju Monster Movie Podcast. We're your hosts, Matt Levine
and Vincent Hannum.
And we're talking about all of our favorite monster movies, the good, the bad, and the downright campy, and asking if they stand the test of time.
Traditional kaiju, creature features, space invaders, the supernatural, and everything in between, all strange beasts are welcome here.
Camp Kaiju is sponsored by Zach Linder and the Zach Pack, powered by Coldwell Banker Realty. Your source for real estate, home rehab, fixing and flipping for investor clients, and residential buyers. Reach out to the Zach Pack today for real estate services, follow the Zach Pack on social media, and contact the Zach Pack for investment opportunities. Link in the show notes.
Activate the remote.
In the race for the world's most advanced communications technology, a shocking discovery has been made.
What was that?
Lock your remote. Give me a thermal reading result to 6-6.
It will take two young scientists into the heart of the African jungle, where a secret hidden for 2,000 years holds the key to the future.
This is Karen Ross. 81452. Houston, do you read?
You used to work for the CIA, and now you're tropical.
Some will come to it for science.
This is a big deal, Charles. This is a big find.
Some for fortune.
A diamond mine of incredible bounty.
And some to return home.
She doesn't really belong anywhere, does she?
No, she belongs here.
Together, they will search.
My boss, he thought I wasn't going to make it. He sent another expedition.
Drawn deep into a mystery.
Camp destroyed. People dead. A gray gorilla.
No such thing as a gray gorilla.
I saw one.
And the more they discover,
The same hieroglyphics over and over.
the greater the danger.
What do they say?
We are watching you.
I never saw any animal move like that.
How intelligent are they?
See, they're smart. They're too damn smart.
We're getting out of here.
What about them?
Put them on the endangered species list.
From the best-selling novel by the author of Jurassic Park.
The myth of the killer ape is true.
Congo, where you are the endangered species.
Vincent, how you doing?
Oh, so good. Here we are, season 5, part 2, Hot Shots, and we are beginning this crazy second half of 2025 with Congo celebrating its 30th anniversary.
Yeah, almost exactly. I think this came out in like late July of 95.
Oh my gosh. Why aren't they getting back to us? The cast. Laura Linney, where are you?
Yeah. Bruce Campbell, like he hasn't returned any of our hundreds of phone calls that we left for him. Come on, we just want to get you on the pod, you know?
Bruce.
Talk to me, baby. Come on. That seemed like the kind of thing Bruce Campbell would say, actually.
Yeah. I just have to say right off the bat, I did not know Bruce Campbell was in this movie. I actually did a double take and I had to like lean forward at first and think, is that really Bruce Campbell? My man, it was so good.
Yeah, it's a fun kind of cameo. Hopefully that's not too much of a spoiler, but he has a small role in this movie, but it's very fun to see him almost right off the bat.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about the cast in the movie, but lots of heavy hitters in this one.
For sure. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. We are recording this on the last day of July, although this probably will be released in early to mid-August. Summer's flying by, but it's mostly pretty good.
Totally, totally. So August is August Bites here at Camp Kaiju. You know, it's the dog days of summer. It's getting a little hot out there. Maybe you're getting a little anxious about going back to school for all you students and teachers out there, and you're just thinking, August can be great, but sometimes August bites. And we're here to provide you some animals that may bite your head off. What's the featured animal in Congo?
Well, there's a good gorilla, Amy Good Gorilla. There are some other good gorillas as well, but then there are some vicious, predatory, bloodthirsty, ancient, unknown apes in this movie as well that may bite your head off. And it's great.
If they're not mowed down with a laser gun before then.
Yeah, put them on the endangered species list. Yep. I'm getting a little ahead of ourselves. Sorry, but there's so much fun stuff about this movie. It is basically a killer ape movie, but I don't know. The story's kind of weird. It's like a secret, primitive race of apes, which does not sound good when I say it out loud. And I'm sure we'll dig into some of those issues in the movie as well.
Yeah, yeah.
What movie are you bringing to Camp Kaiju for our next episode?
Oh, next coming up in 2 weeks will be Jaws 2, the sequel starring Roy Scheider and directed by, I know he was the second unit director on Jaws. Nope, I am wrong about what I just said. Nix what I just said. Jaws 2 is directed by Jenot Swark. Check my pronunciation on that. Just alphabet soup of consonants that this man's name is. But he's a French director. Oh, he just died this past year.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about him and his career next time on Jaws 2 here at Camp Kaiju.
I can't wait. I saw that movie a long time ago, and this director, whose name I also don't know how to pronounce, Giano Schwark? I don't know if that's right, but I've heard that name a lot before, and I would like to learn a little bit more about him, so I'll have to brush up before our next recording.
You ought to. And everyone out there, brush up on your jaws. Get it?
Yeah.
Brush your jaws.
Oh,
brush your chompers.
Nice. Yeah, remember to floss, too. Oh, so many bad jokes already. This is a perfect way to kick off season 5, part 2, with all of the bad jokes we can possibly provide.
Woo!
Yep, that's how we do it. I'm curious, have you seen the new Jurassic World movie yet?
I have not, because I am terrible at getting out to the theaters. But, you know, I hear mixed to positive reviews, actually. So, you know, I'm not an eager beaver. I was burned by Jurassic World Dominion pretty bad. With that said, as soon as it's streaming, I will watch it, and I will save my judgment until then.
Yeah, I've heard good things too, and I'm actually pretty excited about it, despite how much I disliked the last few Jurassic World movies. This one looks pretty good, and I might try to hit the theater sometime soon, so we'll have to get on that.
Nice, get on that. What is Shockwave?
Yeah, the Shockwaves is an older movie from 1977, I believe. It just played at the Trilon. It's the plot can be summed up in 2 words: zombie Nazis. Ooh, and I feel like a lot of monster movie fans out there probably know about it. It's really weird. It's like a slow burn, dreamlike, surreal, low budget, schlocky horror movie about, again, zombie Nazis. So check it out. It's not playing at the Trilon anymore, but it's a weird, maybe not good, but very interesting movie.
Okay. Yeah. You had me at zombie Nazis.
Yeah. We were talking before the recording started. You've seen some monster movies recently as well, especially of the Italian horror variety.
Oh yeah, I saw Demons. Which was not a Dario Argento picture, but was he involved in? He was a producer, maybe?
I think he was, yeah. And if I remember right, that was directed by Lamberto Bava, who is Mario Bava's son, but I could be wrong about that.
Yes, and I need to do my homework on Mario Bava too. Homework like it's a chore. No, I need to do my deep dive into Bava's work, but But yeah, then I like to go down rabbit holes when I watch movies. So Demons led me to Suspiria. Well, Demons, I got the Demons via Zombie or Dawn of the Dead 2 as it was released originally in Italy, which is wild to me that the Italians were like, yeah, this is a sequel to Dawn of the Dead. Like, no, it's not. It has nothing to do with Dawn of the Dead.
Let's just slap that name on there and exploit that a little bit.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I've actually heard from a certain listener, Jonathan Rasmussen. I know you're listening, but Jonathan has asked us if and when we ever get to zombie movies, he would love to be a part of that episode. And I said,
cool.
Absolutely. It's a genre we haven't covered as extensively as I'd like to because there's so much out there.
Yeah, indeed. But hopefully soon to come on Camp Kaiju, we'll see. But again, tonight we are talking about Congo. Last time on Camp Kaiju, we talked about Ebirah Horror of the Deep for Kai July, which was a fun episode. And then we announced our Season 5 Part 2 titles. So check out that little teaser if you haven't done so already.
Oh, yeah. And we've got some great feedback from that episode I will share later on in Menia's mailbox.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get any further in this episode, I do just want to cover a couple nuts and bolts here. We want to thank you all again so much for hanging out with us. Please rate and review Camp Kaiju wherever you listen. You can also send us listener comments at campkaiju@gmail.com or on our Instagram page at camp_kaiju_podcast. If you would like to be a featured voice on the show, leave us a voicemail at 612-470-2612, telling us about all your favorite monster movies and memories. Please also check out our website, campkaijupodcast.com, for more reviews and special content. Also, you can check out some merchandise, including some awesome new shirts, at campkaiju.threadless.com. Relatively new, maybe not super new at this point. And last but not least, please do become a patron at patreon.com/campkaiju for discounts, priority comments, and access to any live events we have coming up. Hopefully more news about some of those events in the near future. And on that subject, I just want to give another very hearty thank you to our current patrons, Jason, Beast Drool, Chris B., Sean, Peggy, and our anonymous patron. Thank you all so much.
100%. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'd love to hear from you and get any comments or questions or thoughts you all have on Menia's mailbox.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Can't wait to read your thoughts and feedback. One thing I wanted to mention real quick, I think we might have mentioned this on the Ebirah recording as well, but Shin Godzilla, one of my favorite recent Godzilla movies, will be re-released into theaters August 14th, so coming up pretty soon. If you have not seen that, check it out. It is awesome. It's a very unique, creative, complicated Godzilla movie. I really love it.
Love that complicated Godzilla movie. That's true. Maybe not a complicated movie, but there's a movie coming out August 21st that I keep seeing ads for. It's called Primitive War. It is, let me read the brief synopsis via Google here. During the Vietnam War, a recon unit ventures to an isolated jungle valley to uncover the fate of a missing platoon. They soon find themselves in a fight for their lives against an unexpected enemy, prehistoric dinosaurs. But really, aren't all dinosaurs prehistoric?
Yeah, you would think so. Yep. Not the modern kind of dinosaur, the prehistoric kind.
Yeah, right. Not historical dinosaurs, prehistoric dinosaurs.
That's pretty old.
Dinosaurs are old.
That's our takeaway of the night. That sounds great. I've seen like a teaser trailer for that movie before, but I did not know the whole synopsis. That sounds pretty cool.
It looks like it's totally riding the Jurassic Park coattails, but you know what? Who cares? Let's get more dinosaur movies that aren't Jurassic Park. That's all I want. I just want more. As much as I love Jurassic Park, I want other dinosaur movies.
Yeah, totally. Yep. Before we get into Congo itself, one of my favorite features we do here on Camp Kaiju is today or this month in monster movie history. I have a list of movies, monster movies that came out in early to mid-August on our Google Doc here. Did any of those titles jump out at you?
Yes. Let me look at these. There's so many good ones. Jason and the Argonauts, Frankenstein Conquers the World, The Brain That Wouldn't Die, Dinosaurus. Black Sunday. Is that a Mario Bava film?
It sure is. Yep. It's a great one.
We are connecting dots here tonight. Yeah, I started this movie last year and I never finished it, but I was definitely riveted. It's just for its time, it's 1960, it's black and white, but it's gory. It's really visually visceral. I need to go back and finish that. So this is me saying to everybody, I will finish Black Sunday before our next recording.
Black Sunday is great. That's the one that I was going to choose as well. Huge Mario Bava fan. Really beautiful. Like you said, very gory and intense, especially for 1960, which in my opinion is the year that modern horror began. That's the year of Psycho, Eyes Without a Face, Peeping Tom, the British movie, Jigoku, a really great Japanese horror movie. So 1960, maybe my favorite year in movie history.
Wow. All right.
But since you chose my title, let's see, which one am I going to come up with next? I'm going to go with City of the Living Dead from 1980, which is another Lucio Fulci movie. I think it's the one that he made right before The Beyond, which is very disgusting. And yeah, City of the Living Dead, another like kind of trashy, kind of sleazy, very gory zombie horror movie, but like really stylish and entertaining at the same time. So you're right, everything is connecting. Mario Bava, Lucio Fulci, it all comes together.
Zombies. I've heard of that movie too. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Good stuff.
Yeah. Again, tonight we are talking about the movie Congo, directed by Frank Marshall from 1995. Vincent, what is your history with this movie?
Not long, not extensive. When we started this podcast, you mention it from time to time. And in my mind, it was always in that wheelhouse of The Relic, of The Island of Dr. Moreau from the 90s, Species. We've talked about this on both those episodes, Species and Dr. Moreau, how it seemed like after Jurassic Park in the 90s, there was a wave of monster movies related to genetics and science gone awry, often featuring like tropical, foreign, exotic, if you will, lands. So I think Congo, which also is another Michael Crichton novel, is right within that wave of 90s movies that are so that wouldn't have never been made if not for the success of Jurassic Park.
Yeah, you're totally right about that. Yeah. And I think there's something very like comforting and very fun, almost kind of innocent about some of those movies, even if they have like very questionable themes sometimes. But part of that I think is just like the 90s were a different era of Hollywood filmmaking than what we are in today. Like, it's not all superhero movies. It's not all CGI. I think there was maybe a little bit more imagination back then. Things weren't all rosy and great. There were some bad movies too, but it's fun to look back on that time. And a lot of it is just nostalgia too. Like I was 11 years old when Congo came out. My friends and I watched it all the time in middle school. Shout out to my friend Chris, who made a board game based on the movie Congo, which is so much fun. Yeah, so we loved this movie and like still reference it all the time. And almost nobody ever knows what we're talking about because nobody really remembers this movie all that much anymore.
I love that, man. That's great because I have movies like that too. And that if I showed you, you'd be like, I don't get it. Not saying that I don't get Congo, but maybe I don't have, not maybe, I am missing that nostalgia piece, which might be important in understanding my final rating for this movie.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But I get it. I get the appeal. It's some of these lines and the way they're delivered. They're just ripe for the teenage mind to grab onto.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, talk about camp. This movie really puts the camp in Camp Kaiju. There's so much campy humor in this movie. Most of it intentional, I would say.
All right.
Some of it maybe not so much.
Well, Camp Camp is both intentional and unintentional.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
Right. It just depends. Just real quick with you're talking about 90s, like with the lack of superhero movies. I think just to add on to that, I think what the criticism is today is that these studio movies, everything that comes out is just so franchise heavy. Like everything is part of a universe, part of a greater connection. And in the 90s, and I guess just before the 2010s, you didn't have that. You just made a one-off. Maybe if you made a superhero movie, it was just like a one and done thing. And now let's move on to our Oscar drama, and let's move on to our stoner comedy, which not saying those don't exist now, but they were more common, I feel like, at the theaters.
Yeah, I think so too. And maybe looking back on things with rose-colored glasses or whatever, but I think there was more imagination. And even if, Hollywood studios still tried to capitalize on well-known names or entities or whatever, I think it's fair to say that Congo is a ripoff of Jurassic Park. So there's a little bit of that to it as well. Mm. But still, I find so much imagination and humor and visual beauty in a lot of these movies, even the not great movies, that I just don't see as much in movies that come out today. But that makes me sound like just a grumpy old man. So there's a lot of good stuff today too,
But I agree with you, and I think a lot of people do as well. So let us know what you think, everybody. Let us know.
Yeah, indeed. And I do love revisiting these 90s monster movies. So excited to talk about Congo with you.
The Jennings family has just moved to the small town of Canaima.
Oh, Ross, smell that air.
Oh, God.
In search of a simpler life.
Want to blow up a bullfrog? Okay.
It's the perfect place.
Goodbye crime, goodbye grime.
Except for one pesky little problem.
Come with me and look at the web.
The web? I have
a terrible fear of spiders. Come on, we live in the country now. It's time to work through this irrational, paralyzing terror.
It's not irrational.
Hollywood Pictures and Amblin Entertainment present Jeff Daniels.
Honey, we're in the living room. We need you to kill a spider.
And John Goodman.
Dover McClintock, Infestation Management.
Ooh, I thought it's just a spider.
Would anybody object if I tore this floor out?
I would.
False alarm, then lead on. There's no spider here.
Every so often in a little town somewhere, there is a health scare.
There's a rumor going around that some kind of spider might have killed Sam Metcalf.
Doubtful.
Spiders make convenient pulpits.
There's no spider here.
I think one of your Venezuelan spiders hitched a ride here. There may be some spiders around here that are very dangerous.
Dad, chill out.
Just run. They spread out from a central nest in a web-like pattern and dominate the entire area. When that happens, this town is dead.
Better uncork my private stock.
Rock and roll! Hollywood Pictures and Amblin Entertainment present Arachnophobia. 8 legs, 2 fangs, and an attitude.
Perk up, Lloyd. If we find the spider that did this, you can arrest him.
Arachnophobia, a thrill-omedy. They were orphaned from childhood.
Promise me you'll protect him. I promise.
Best friends for life.
He's playing with you. Hide and seek.
You found me!
Good thing Joe didn't want to play doctor.
You think he's okay back there?
He's doing fine.
Now, after 20 years...
Look at him. He won't eat. If he stays in here, he'll die.
Their greatest adventure is about to begin.
Oh, my God.
All right, Jose. That was so cool. Joe needs me.
Once you meet him, you'll never forget.
Joe!
Disney's Mighty Joe Young.
Can you get him to put me down?
Joe, drop him.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
We've made living biological attractions so astounding that they'll capture the imagination of the entire planet.
The most phenomenal discovery of our time.
How'd you do this?
Becomes the greatest adventure of all time.
Can I touch it?
Sure.
Universal Pictures presents
You feel that?
Hold on to your butts.
a Steven Spielberg film.
Fences are failing all over the park.
Yeah, that's nice. Gotta go.
An adventure.
Look out! Down!
I can't get Jurassic Park back online.
65 million years in the making. Jurassic Park.
So let's dive into the crew a little bit. The director, Frank Marshall, is probably a little bit better known as a producer. He founded Amblin Entertainment with his wife, Kathleen Kennedy, and with Steven Spielberg in 1980. Frank Marshall has produced a lot of movies by a lot of notable directors: Spielberg, Bogdanovich, David Fincher, M. Night Shyamalan, Robert Zemeckis, many others. Some of his movies that he produced were the Indiana Jones movies, Back to the Future, and Jurassic Park. So he's kind of ripping his own product off here a little bit. But yeah, he's a super producer for sure. But he's also directed a couple of his own movies, including a film that we've talked about on the podcast before. Do you want to talk about that movie at all, Vincent?
Well, it's your favorite movie, so I mean, it's Arachnophobia, your favorite creature of the animal kingdom. Yeah, and I think Arachnophobia and Congo are just so perfectly suited for comparing and contrasting, because we had criticisms about the tone sometimes with Arachnophobia, comedy versus horror, and I think that question is going to come back again even stronger with Congo for me. Again, like, is this a comedy or a horror film? Is it both? Is it the respective genre?
Yeah.
Frank Marshall, what are you doing sometimes?
Yeah. It's a fair question, I think. Yeah. I would say the emphasis is definitely on comedy over horror in Congo, in my opinion, but we'll talk about that more.
Yeah, absolutely.
The screenplay is by John Patrick Shanley, a successful screenwriter who wrote scripts for Moonstruck. That was his second screenplay, and he won the Oscar for it, as well as Joe versus the Volcano and a couple other movies. He's also a playwright. He's written over 23 plays, including Doubt, which was made into a movie. He also wrote the screenplay for the film adaptation of Doubt as well, so a fairly well-known name.
I have to just say, this is my background as an actor. John Patrick Shanley is one of my favorite playwrights of all time. I have a number of his plays on my shelf. He has just a beautiful way of, and not Doubt so much, but his other works just have like a beautiful sentimentality that's also grounded. It's just like very sincere and kind of off kilter, but always grounded. And I did not know he wrote this movie until after I watched it, and I went, John Patrick Shanley, I don't think this is your genre, man.
You don't find the grounded empathy so much in this movie?
Not so much, but I will say it all made sense, because there was an exchange between the lead character, and I forget his name, and Laura Linney, who I might have a crush on, and the male protagonist says something about the lonely impulse of delight as his reason for pursuing this sign language experiment with the gorilla. And the script goes off into like 30-second tangent on this poetry by Yeats. And that's Shanley. And I'll cut to the chase here. John Patrick Shanley has a collection of plays called A Lonely Impulse of Delight. He has a play called A Lonely Impulse of Delight.
Wow.
And now I went, if I ever meet John Patrick Shanley, I'm going to tell him, sir, I watched Congo and I see what you did there.
I had no idea. That's amazing. My background is not really in theater or playwrights all that much, so I love getting that insight. That's fascinating.
Just such a obscure Easter egg for acting nerds like me.
Wow, that is so cool.
Yeah.
You're right. That moment's really out of place in this movie, and in a good way, I think. And maybe like little bits here and there where like Laura Linney has like a combative relationship with the father of her ex-fiance, who also happens to be the CEO of the company that she works for. And they have this like little conflict where he's like, go to the jungles of Africa to like find this diamond that can create this communications invention that will make us rich. The story's a little preposterous. And she's like, oh, and also find your son's body, right? Like, aren't you interested in that too? And he's like, oh, yeah, that also, but the diamond. And like, it's not grounded by any means, but there's like a little bit of that character dynamic that's momentarily, it provides some conflict, Maybe not at the level of John Patrick Shanley's other plays, though, or plays in general.
It did provide it gave conflict. I don't know if it provided conflict.
It's the barest semblance of a plot device, perhaps. That's a better way to put it. All right, fair enough. I'm being too kind to this movie, perhaps.
Well,
it is.
We'll go on.
Yeah, more on that later. It is based on a book by Michael Crichton. Of course, Crichton also wrote the book Jurassic Park and many other extremely well-known novels that eventually were turned into movies, The Andromeda Strain, Sphere, Rising Sun, many others. I would say he's like kind of in the Stephen King stratosphere of like celebrity authors. And there aren't probably too many of those. Unfortunately, there should be more of them, but he didn't really have much to do with the making of Congo, but he did write the book that it's based on.
He did. Did he not have a hand in the screenplay?
Well, initially he did. We'll maybe talk about this more in the production backstory. He had like the initial idea that gave rise to the project, but in the finished version, he basically had nothing to do with the screenplay or almost anything else in the movie.
Okay, great. See, yeah. John Patrick, this is on you, brother.
It's all Shanley. And it is based on the Crichton book, so he had a role in that way, but
for sure.
Yeah. Just real quick, there's some big names in the rest of the crew of the movie, so I wanted to talk about them a little bit as well. The cinematographer is Alan Daviow, who worked with Spielberg a lot in the 80s, actually, before Spielberg started working with Janusz Kaminski pretty much all the time. He worked with Alan Daviow on E.T., The Color Purple, and Empire of the Sun. Pretty big names, obviously. Daviow also shot Harry and the Hendersons, Defending Your Life, and Bugsy, among some other movies, so a pretty big cinematographer in the 80s and 90s.
The editor is Anne Coates. She won an Oscar for editing Lawrence of Arabia, just a little movie some of you may have heard of. Yeah. She also edited such classics as The Horse's Mouth, Beckett, The Elephant Man, Out of Sight, Aaron Brockovich, and many others. Yeah, big name there.
Yeah. Another big name. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, music is by Jerry Goldsmith. We talked about him last season. He scored Gremlins, but here he is directing Congo. He has scored over 200 films and TV programs. Just look at his Wikipedia page. As Matt, you say, a ridiculous list of well-known projects. Yeah.
I started listing all of them on the Google Doc, and I was like, well, just look it up. I mean, it's an absurd list of movies and TV shows that everybody knows about. Jerry Goldsmith probably did the music for it. It's incredible. Another big name, last big name that we'll talk about in the crew is Stan Winston. Of course, an extremely well-known special effects designer and makeup designer. We've talked about him numerous times on the podcast. He had just won an Oscar for his work on Jurassic Park 2 years before Congo. And yeah, tries to duplicate that success here. We'll talk a little bit more about his special effects later in the episode.
Yeah.
For whatever that's worth. Some big names in the cast, too. You mentioned you might have a little bit of a crush on Laura Linney. Do you want to talk about her at all?
I mean, look up her Wikipedia page. No. I mean, I don't know her extensive work, but my two favorite things she's in, she plays Abigail Adams in the HBO miniseries John Adams, opposite Paul Giamatti. She's incredible in that. It's when I first got to know her. We're friends, and then she's just so much fun in The Truman Show.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey's wife.
Truman Show is great. She's wonderful in that movie.
Yeah, she just has like a really wonderful screen presence. Like she can drop it in and be really like tough as nails while also being like or having a really sweet persona. Blonde, blue eyes, kind of a gentle face, but if you cross her, again, she can be very tough as nails. So she kind of brings that same energy here. She plays Karen Ross, a communications expert. Yeah, so here she is doing her thing.
Yeah. I really love her performance in You Can Count on Me, which is from the early 2000s. Mark Ruffalo is in that movie as well. Kind of a quiet, slow-paced drama, like a family drama. But she's really incredible, as is Mark Ruffalo. Very, very good movie. She's really good in Kinsey. She's great in a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me. Sorry.
Well, that's all right. The cast also features Dylan Walsh as primatologist Peter Elliott. He's kind of well known from Nip Tuck, the TV show. I feel like maybe he didn't have as huge of a film career as some of the other names in this cast, but here he is in Congo. I feel like my favorite performance in this movie, I don't know how you feel about this, but Ernie Hudson plays Captain Monroe Kelly, who's kind of like the adventurer who leads this motley crew of scientists into the Congolese jungle. And he's great. He's very charismatic in this movie.
Two things. Another nerd alert here for theater folks, but also we have a Minnesota alert. Whoop, 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 whoop. Ernie Hudson did live in Minneapolis for a spell in the 70s, I believe. And here is some Twin Cities theater lore. You ready? So, for those of you who don't know, in Minneapolis, there is a very well-known community theater called Theater in the Round Players. I think they're in their 80-something season. So they've been around for almost a century. Now, they are community theater. They're in the heart of the city, surrounded by, a number of for-profit theaters, but they are community theater, which means they do not pay their actors. For right or wrong, that's just the way community theater works, right? Ernie Hudson was in a play at Theater in the Round in the 1970s called The Great White Hope, which is a play from the 70s. It's a boxing drama. And yes, he does refer to himself as the Great White Hope in Congo as well. So John Patrick Shanley, I see you again. In the Twin Cities theater lore, Ernie Hudson is the only actor to have ever been paid at Theater in the Round because he was cast and then he said, "No, I'm going to quit unless you pay me." And he was just a nobody actor. He was just trying to like support his family on the in Minneapolis. And apparently Theater in the Round acquiesced and gave him money. So like when I moved to the Twin Cities as an actor, I heard this story. Ernie Hudson's the only actor to get paid at Theater in the Round.
That's amazing. Money well spent. I mean, I'm sure he was deserving of it,
Absolutely. He's so much fun. Ghostbusters aside, I mean, again, he just brings a very sincere warmth, I think, to his performances.
Yeah, I think he's clearly having fun in the role. He actually said it in an interview that this was his favorite role that he ever played, in a movie anyway, which is surprising. I think.
Surprising.
Yeah, because, I mean, he's been in other better movies and TV shows, but, I mean, he's clearly having fun here, and it's a lot of fun to watch him in this movie.
Yeah, yeah.
And we'll talk about this more, and you alluded to this, Vincent, but, like, the character type that he's playing is, like, the great white hunter who, like, ventures into the jungles of Africa and, like, conquers nature and, like, is more powerful than everybody else. And, like, I feel like Ernie Hudson knows the power and the kind of intentionality of like having him play this role. I think the line that you alluded to, he says like, "I'm the great white hunter who also happens to be black." And it's one of the more, it's not like brilliant or anything, but it's one of the more clever lines in the movie, I would say.
Yeah. And along those lines, they come across a group of natives in the jungle, and the natives are taken aback that the leader of the expedition is Ernie Hudson, a black man. And Hudson says to the white members of his crew, he says, they're laughing because because the leaders are usually white. and they didn't believe that I would be leading you all. And
Yeah.
again, I don't think it's like the most profound line, but I do think
Right.
it is more clever than a lot of other lines in this movie.
Yeah. That's a backhanded compliment, but yeah, I would agree with that. And
All right.
no, you're right. I think the movie is at least aware of some of those tropes and tries very lazily to like subvert them a little bit, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's good. And yeah, Ernie Hudson is a delight to see in this movie.
Yeah, for sure. Lots of other big names in the cast as well. Maybe we'll just kind of blaze through the rest of these real quick. Tim Curry, the legendary Tim Curry, stars as Herkimer Homolka, which is maybe my favorite character name of all time. Really love that name, Herkimer Homolka. Tim Curry's great in this movie. You have Joe Don Baker as the CEO of Travacom. I know him most of all from several different James Bond movies. He's always a fun presence. Do you want to talk about a couple of the actors here as well?
Sure. I just want to say Tim Curry, I don't know, maybe to a generation best known for Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. But no, more importantly, his role as Dr. Frankenfurter in the Rocky Horror Picture Show is iconic. And if you haven't seen that movie, it is also celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. And is just an iconic piece of filmmaking. So plug there for that.
Yeah, that's a good point. My favorite Tim Curry performance is as the devil in the movie Legend by Ridley Scott. I actually really love that movie, my favorite Ridley Scott movie, maybe except for Alien. But Legend is awesome, and Tim Curry is so cool in that movie. He's great.
Yeah, big Curry fan there. Who are we talking about? We're talking about Delroy Lindo as Captain Wanta, uncredited for some reason, but the same year he also starred in the excellent Spike Lee movie Clockers. We have Joe Pantoliano. He was in The Fugitive, Bad Boys, The Matrix. Oh, that's right. Baby's Day Out. Don't forget.
I was going to put that on here, and then I was like, why would I put that on here? Who cares about that movie? Apparently, I was wrong. Sorry, Vincent.
Who cares about Baby's Day Out? Who cares about The Matrix? No.
Come on.
I just watched. Sorry, I hit a nerve there. No, I like The Matrix. I just revisited it. And yeah, he's really a villain, like dastardly in that movie, like in a bad way. He's a bad man.
He plays a good weasel. Yeah.
He does. That's the word. Great weasel. Also small roles for John Hawkes. I don't know how to pronounce this name. Adewale Akinwumi Agbaje.
Yeah, who's well known from a lot of TV shows like Lost and Oz and some other shows. He has a small role here.
Yeah,
good to see him. He's a longtime stage actor as well.
I was a big Lost fan in the day, so I recognized him and was a fan.
Yeah.
But Bruce Campbell, we have yet to talk about it. This is our first Bruce Campbell movie on Camp Kaiju.
Wow. I guess you're right. Weird. This is I guess it might have been better for a different Bruce Campbell movie to be our first one that we talk about on Camp Kaiju, but it's, we might have briefly mentioned his name before. He has a small cameo at the beginning, and I feel like that's kind of just like throwing a bone to the monster movie fans, the horror fans in the audience, to see him right away.
Yeah. A horror icon. The Evil Dead series. He's in an offbeat movie called Bubba Hotep. He's a legend in his own time, and I actually follow him on Instagram or some like official Bruce Campbell account, but he's always talking at conventions about these movies and about Hollywood, and I think he also has some insight because like he never made it as an A-lister. He's very well suited for these types of supporting roles that you see in Congo, where he's a little goofy, he's a little charming, but he's also a hunk, So he's not, like he looks like a leading man, but he has the energy of a supporting player.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah. I feel like the Evil Dead movies were really perfect for him because like they just suit, like the sense of humor in those movies suits his persona so well. Like those are the only movies where he could play the lead and get away with it,
Yeah.
Like in Congo, he auditioned for the Dylan Walsh character, like the primatologist who's like the main male lead in the movie, and he was not cast in that role, but he did have this like 2-minute cameo at the beginning. And for a movie like this, that's probably the ideal usage for him,
But at the same time, and this is just this is me jumping ahead a little bit. I feel like the actor who plays Peter, Dylan Walsh, I feel like he unfortunately is forgettable amidst this ensemble of either kooky characters like Tim Curry, like Ernie Hudson. Laura Linney's not kooky, but she has tremendous screen presence. And I feel like Dylan Walsh just kind of gets lost. I mean, he's certainly upstaged by his gorilla.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe for me, Bruce Campbell in that role, while he would have been over the top, maybe that's the energy I wanted more of from this character, the Dylan Walsh.
Yeah. I think that's fair. His character, the Dylan Walsh character, is very bland and forgettable in this movie. I think he's kind of meant to be like the emotional anchor a little bit. Like he has this very sincere relationship with Amy, the gorilla, that he communicates with and has this kind of father-daughter relationship with almost. But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of boring. And like with everything else going on, it's like, oh, who cares about this guy? Let's get back to like the killer apes, you know?
Yeah.
So I agree with you.
Yeah.
But if Bruce Campbell had played that role, it almost might have been like too much. Like everything in this movie would have been like over the top, you know?
I also agree with that statement. So I don't know, man.
I would like to see that version of this movie. It probably would have been pretty awesome. We'll never know. I did just want to mention real quick that there is also a team of actors in the creature suits playing Amy the gorilla and the other gorillas as well. So it's not purely animatronic. Some of them are actors in suits, and I think it comes off pretty well.
I do too. Great special effects and something that today would be CGI.
Yeah.
And I think you lose something, the tangibility going the computer route.
Exactly. Yep. I've made my opinions about that clear many times on Camp Kaiju, but this movie reminds me of that again. And like, I see the CGI in like Godzilla X Kong, whatever the full title of that movie is, and it's like, yeah, give me an actor in a suit over CGI any day.
Yeah,
in my opinion. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll leave it at that. So diving into the production backstory of the film a little bit, as I mentioned earlier, Michael Crichton did come up with the idea for Congo. It actually started with a movie from 1978 called The First Great Train Robbery that Crichton wrote and directed, and it was based on his own novel, so he played a major role in that movie. Sean Connery was in that one. That movie did pretty well, so Crichton wanted to work with Sean Connery again. He came up with an idea to kind of update King Solomon's Mines, the 1885 novel, for a modern setting. And he wanted Connery to play this kind of great white hunter inspired by the Alan Quatermain character from that book. Crichton also said he was interested in like new sign language communication techniques used with primates around that time. So that was where the genesis of the idea first came from in the late 1970s. He actually did pitch that idea to 20th Century Fox, and they wanted to make it. They were ready to give him the money, especially with Sean Connery attached, but they would not let Crichton use an actual gorilla in the role of Amy. And that apparently was a deal breaker for Crichton, so he was like, nope, not going to do it. If I can't have a real gorilla, I'm out of this project. So he did step away. He did write the book Congo, which was published in 1980. Seems like kind of a weird hill to die on to me. I know it was the late 70s / early 80s, but, you had movies like King Kong, you had like special effects was like advancing pretty rapidly at the time. So it just seems weird to me that he would step away for that reason.
It does. But, does he? I mean, we'll get into this. I will get into this with some of my criticisms later on, but a real gorilla might not be the easiest animal to handle on set. Michael.
Yeah.
Crichton.
Yeah.
There might be a reason they're not used in movies.
And I don't know, I'm not trying to make fun of Michael Crichton, but it's like, I feel like he was just like, oh, it'll be fine. I can do it. I've never worked with gorillas before, but I'm a movie director. I can do anything. Like, I feel like the studio might have made the right decision in that case. Almost definitely.
Yeah. Well, Michael Crichton turns out all right in the end.
Yes. Yeah. He's doing okay for himself. 20th Century Fox did still want to move ahead with the production of the film, though. Steven Spielberg and John Carpenter were both attached to direct very briefly in the early 80s, but those plans kind of fell apart and it just never really got off the ground in the 80s.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the production after Frank Marshall got on board?
Sure. Frank Marshall revitalized the projects in the 1990s, perhaps inspired by the success of Jurassic Park. And although Crichton was publicized as the film's co-writer, he had little to no involvement with it. Filming took place mostly in California, with limited footage shot in Costa Rica, Tanzania, Kenya, and Uganda. Stan Winston's team designed the suits and animatronics for Amy, the gray gorillas, aka those mutant. No, they're not mutant gorillas so much, but they're the bloodthirsty, vicious gorillas at the end, and the hippopotamus. Yeah, their boats get attacked by hippos, which is a wild scene, and the hippos are all puppets or animatronics, which is fun. I've never seen hippos attack in a movie before.
Yeah, it's a cool scene. It takes place at night and they're trying to like cross a river, so it's like hard to tell what's going on, and I feel like maybe that's to cover up the special effects a little bit, but like it still works pretty well.
Yeah, it's a fun moment of action. Now, however, Stan Winston did regret giving Amy the quote cuter features of a lowland gorilla rather than the mountain gorilla that she was supposed to be. And Matt, you've added a source that provides interesting info about Amy's design, so you all listeners can check that out in the show notes.
Yeah, and that source will be, or it is like, it's from Stan Winston's website, like his company's website, and it goes into a lot of detail about the special effects in the movie, so pretty fascinating. We don't really have time to cover all that in the episode, but check out that resource if you want to take a look.
Sweet.
But the thing about Stan Winston regretting giving Amy like the cuter features of a lowland gorilla instead of a mountain gorilla, he was like, it was probably a mistake because it like, took away from the realism of the movie, which I just think is a really hilarious quote. Like, that's not what's taking away from the realism of this movie, Stan Winston. Like, nobody really cares if it looks like a lowland gorilla or a mountain gorilla. And I'm being a little sarcastic right now, but like this movie's not going for realism,
Well, that's very true. I gotta be honest. I could not tell a lowland gorilla from a mountain gorilla. I watch this movie and I see gorillas.
Right. And I don't think anybody would watch this movie and be like, I was convinced, I was on board the entire time, except that gorilla Amy did not look like a mountain gorilla. I don't think anybody would have had that thought, but Stan Winston apparently did.
Yeah.
Which is why, I mean, that's great. He's like all about realism and perfection, and that's what a film artist should be,
But then again, I'm sure Jane Goodall saw this movie and immediately knew the difference.
You might be right about that. I hope she did see this movie. I would be fascinated to hear her thoughts about it. Maybe she loves it.
She's like a secret fan of trashy ape movies.
Yeah. I would be delighted if that were the case. I hope that is true.
Oh, man.
So we're having a little fun with this movie, and that's maybe not too surprising because this movie was kind of critically reviled when it came out. It got pretty bad reviews. A lot of critics, attacked the thin characters, the cheesy special effects, the unoriginality, and some of the camp humor, which I personally am okay with. But yeah, this movie got a lot of bad reviews. It was nominated for 7 Razzies, or Golden Raspberry Awards, which celebrate or dishonor the worst movies of the year. So critically did not do too well. So even though Congo was not a critical success, it was surprisingly a commercial success. It grossed $24.6 million in its first weekend. It was the #1 film at the box office that weekend, far exceeding expectations. It ultimately grossed about $152 million against a $50 million budget. So commercial success way beyond what the studio expected. A lot of that had to do with all the kind of promotional tie-ins that Congo had. They had marketing deals with Taco Bell and Pepsi. There was a 1996 Sega game that came out based on the movie, a computer game, even a pinball machine game that came out as a tie-in to Congo. So yeah, not a critical success, but like commercially, in terms of marketing promotions, huge success.
Which I love, no matter how I feel about this movie, this is the type of movie I love talking about on Camp Kaiju, where it was a hit in its day. And 30 years later, is it worth still watching, talking about? Does it stand the test of time? We will find out. You and I will give our expert opinions on Congo.
Oh yeah, we will indeed. I'm already starting to sense they might diverge a little bit, but that's quite all right.
Roger Ebert gave this high marks. Did you read that?
I did, yeah. 3 out of 4. So like relatively high, higher than most other critics.
And so much higher than he usually gives these types of movies.
Yeah, I feel like he did sometimes like kind of cheesy popcorn entertainment, but yeah, usually if they're this this ridiculous, he doesn't usually like them all that much, or didn't usually. Yeah. But, I feel compelled to say that this movie does have a little bit of a cult following now. Some recent reviews have been a little bit more positive. There's a writer for the AV Club, which doesn't exist anymore, sadly, but his name is Ignaty Vishnevetsky, and he had a really positive review of the movie Congo. The AV Club used to have this series where they would like revisit notorious bombs back in the day, and he gave this one a good review, and he said, I'll just call out one line of his review. He said, "Is Congo a good film? It's certainly a good time." And that's like an obvious thing to say, but I love it. That kind of speaks to why I like this movie so much as well.
Cool.
Yeah. Bit of a cold movie, maybe.
Awesome. I remember talking in our Ebera conversation about, tastes and what we enjoy is so individualistic. Because some people love Ebera Horror of the Deep.
Yeah.
We do not. And, that's what art is. And especially pop art, can be that divisive. And I think that's a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. It's subjective. And that's why people should feel strongly about the movies they love or hate, but, preferably the movies they love.
Yeah. I just want to add that, I was watching Congo and I was thinking, I feel like the 90s were a big time for ape monkey movies. How do you feel about
Mighty
that
Joe
statement? Yep, there was Mighty Joe Young. Let me go through a list for you.
Yeah.
First of all, there's George of the Jungle, which features actors in ape costumes, right? You had Dunstan Checks In. You had movies called Monkey Trouble, Monkey Business. There's a movie called Ed with Matt LeBlanc. It looks like a baseball movie with a chimpanzee. I'm not saying these were like wide released films, but I've heard of some of these. Summer of the Monkeys from 1998. I think it was a thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I do, yeah, now that you mention it, George of the Jungle, Ed, I definitely remember those. Mighty Joe Young, like I said. Why do you think that is? Was there something...
I don't know. Something socially?
Politically or in the air? I don't know.
Like, I feel like in the 80s, you had an explosion of body horror films. I feel like because the technology now allowed you to make those effects. So maybe by the 90s, ape acting in suits and puppetry and animatronics, we're just at a point where, we could do this. We could bring apes and gorillas to the screen believably.
Yeah. I think you're probably right that it's mostly about the special effects and just like seeing what they could accomplish with the new technologies and stuff. But it is fascinating. I mean, there was kind of a first wave of ape movies in like the late 1920s and 1930s, King Kong obviously being the most obvious example. And there, that reflects some like pretty bad social and racial like worldviews at the time, just about like civilization and like the allure of the jungle and exoticism and stuff like that. But you wouldn't think that would come back so prevalently in the 1990s. I don't know if that would be why.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm going to have to think about that more.
You have a book. How's that book?
Yeah, I've just leafed through it, and it's very much about those older movies from the 20s and 30s, maybe some from the 40s too. And it goes into like those pretty toxic and harmful tropes about race and gender and, like humans versus animals, like some of those like themes that were unfortunately pretty popular at the time for like, not great reasons.
Yeah.
So it's a fascinating book. And now my mind is running circles trying to think about why and how that might recur in the 1990s. But maybe it's just a special.
I don't know. I think we can put a pin in it because we are also
Yeah.
talking about a baseball movie with Matt LeBlanc and a chimney. So, like,
Which speaks volumes about society and politics.
Class.
I'm just kidding.
In Clinton's America.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if anybody out there wants to send us your thoughts on that, please let us know, because I would love to read that.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's great. And so niche.
Yeah.
Well,
that's what we're about here. Yeah.
Yeah. On that note,
Camp Kaiju is sponsored by Zach Linder and the Zach Pack, powered by Coldwell Banker Realty, your source for real estate, home rehab, fixing and flipping for investor clients and residential buyers. Reach out to the Zach Pack today for real estate services, follow the Zach Pack on social media, and contact the Zach Pack for investment opportunities. Link in the show notes. Vincent, how is Minia's mailbox looking today?
full. And you know what? I'm going to read more than just one comment today because in response to our episode on Ebera, in response to our Season 5 Part 2 announcement on Instagram, I just had some great comments that I wanted to share. Just share the love. First off, we have Mart Kingsey. And Mart Kingsey comments, great episode. Looking forward to the upcoming titles. Some interesting choices. So I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have Don, superfan Don, comments, great episode. Helping me get through working today. We appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
We have Beth, our guest host and friend of the pod, founder of Godzilla Days in Bloomington, Indiana. She says, it was so much fun to talk post G-Fest with you guys. Maybe we can talk Pulgasari next. And Pulgasari is a North Korean kaiju film, which in and of itself, that's worthy of a conversation right there.
Yes, that's a great idea.
Yeah. And then Podcast Buddies from Monster Candy Podcast says, Matt totally chose one of my next movie picks, Humanoids from the Deep.
Oh.
It's my fave of the Corman-produced films. Yin's gonna dig it.
All right. To be determined. I'm still kind of waffling on that choice a little bit. Honestly, I might be a little scared to watch it, but all right. I think that comment might mean that we have to bring it back. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, like you said, Matt, I fully support your TBD on that one, but gotta watch it for yourself, and then you can make a call.
Totally. It's never a good idea to judge a movie before you watch it. So, more to come on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I gotta tell you about Peter Lorre here. He is reviewing a movie, a Golden Age ape movie starring Bela Lugosi called The Ape Man from 1943. Mr. Lugosi plays a scientist who, through some sort of science gone awry, injects himself with an ape serum and turns into an ape man.
Whoa. That sounds great.
It's perfect for Congo, lined up perfectly.
Yeah.
Thank Mr. Lorre for that work. I know he is in a bit of a jam dealing with this lilac. My mental connection, my telepathic connection is beeping danger signals right now. Can you do anything to help him? Can you get into that room? Is it still locked?
It is still locked, yeah. I mean, I can do something to help him. Do I want to? That's another question. I don't know. But I feel I can already see like the petals and like the tendrils of the lilac like creeping onto the door. So I'm a little freaked out. I don't know if I want to go in there right now. But, I don't need a telepathic connection to know that he's in danger. So I might check on him after this episode just to make sure.
Okay. We'll check back next time to see how he's doing, how you're doing. The world might be in danger. You're next, everybody. You're next.
Yeah. Look out for that lilac. Yeah. While I'm in there, I'll ask Mr. Lorre if he has any thoughts about why there are so many monkey movies in the 1990s. He probably has some thoughts on that.
Might have. Yeah, he might have.
We'll see. But he might be also too busy like trying to escape from the constricting limbs of the lilac. So we'll see. We'll see how he's doing.
Yeah, just bring your machete in there with you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, awesome. I can't wait to hear Mr. Lorre's thoughts on that. Hopefully he's still alive. We'll find out.
Welcome to the Poverty Row Studios on the other side of Hollywood, where the stars were dimmer and the red carpets dripped with blood. Together we will watch the best of the worst. Movies known for their limited budgets, outlandish concepts, and questionable performances, but with enough haunted houses, zombies, ape men, and devil bats to keep you up at night. This is the Poverty Row Picture Show, and I dare you to sleep through these nightmares. Hello there. I am Peter Lorre, and I have but minutes to live. As you can hear, I am in a little bit of a pickle. You see, my fiendish friend, my botanical buddy, my platonic plant, my lilac, has turned on me. Oh, and it is currently squeezing me to death. But damn it all to hell if I do not continue reviewing these Poverty Row movies. If I am to go out, I can think of no better way than discussing the Ape Man whilst being munched on by a monster flower. Ugh. Here we go. The Ape Man stars Bela Lugosi and was shot within a week at Monogram Studios. The story is rather derivative. A scientist injects himself with spinal fluid from a gorilla, and what you know, he turns into an ape himself. And of course, the cure lies in the spinal fluid of regular, whole human beings. Thus begins the murder spree as Lugosi preys on the innocent with the help of his sidekick, an actual gorilla. Now, this gorilla was a costume and portrayed by veteran ape actor Emil Van Horn. Sunshine Sammy Morris, for what it's worth, of the East End Kids, also makes an appearance. Now, if the above sounds like Monogram's previous film called The Ape with Boris Karloff, you would be on the money. Look, if you've got the gorilla costume, you might as well use it. And as Matthew and Vincent discuss, such pictures were popular at this time. I do not know anything about the 1990s, however, to venture a guess about that decade's interest in cinematic simians. Now, despite the predictable story, The Ape Man is not a terrible movie, all things considered. Mr. Lugosi, ever the professional, gives it his all. God bless that man. It is interesting to note that Lugosi's previous gig was playing the Frankenstein monster in Universal's Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. However, Universal did not call him back for their next project, Son of Dracula. Ironic, eh? Well, the Universal brass shared little of the respect Monogram had for Lugosi. However hammy he may be in these movies, they are made that much more enjoyable with his presence. So seek out the Ape Man, and if I survive my present ordeal, I'd love to hear from you. Oh, there's the spot. That one didn't feel too bad. Oh. Nope. No, that one hurt. Here it is, listeners. I faced the deep, dark depths of the lilac's maw. And before I get eaten, we'll see you next week for Sunshine Sammy Morris and those other East End kids in a 1943 movie called Ghosts on the Loose.
At practice, I was an ace. I couldn't miss. But in the game...
Tell me you ain't gonna throw the curve, Tip. You ain't gonna throw the curve, Tip.
Things were going from bad to worse.
A little word to the wise. You choke, you croak.
Until someone came along... I'm supposed to pick up a ball player to lend me a hand.
Meet Ed Sullivan.
Welcome aboard, dude.
He can catch. He can throw. He can swing.
Ed, get down. Suppose you drive, too.
And now he's turning Jack's luck around. On the field. And off.
He's a great friend. You're lucky, Jack.
Tell me about it. Where are they taking Ed? You traded him?
I sold him.
He's a ball player.
All players get traded.
I'm gonna bring him home.
From Universal Pictures.
He's not putting that monkey in this game.
Comes the story of two ball players who shared one dream.
There's one.
And one very small apartment.
Oh, not my bathroom.
Don't you do it. Friends Matt LeBlanc.
Bad monkey.
Back to Congo. Are there any themes in this movie? I don't know if there are. It's not the deepest movie in the world.
Well, you have some great ones there, I do see. I'm going to just look at my notes real quick. Themes of belonging, a search for home, Amy the gorilla. You know, the whole inciting incident of this movie is Peter. Is he a doctor? Is he a scientist? I was actually unclear about his role.
He's a scientist. He's a primatologist, I think.
That's right. Yeah, 100%. He is a doctor, too. I remember that. He introduces himself. But he has Amy, who can communicate through sign language and then through a machine verbally. But Amy is longing for the Congo to get back to her home because she's been in captivity for so long. So that in and of itself is a theme, the captivity of animals for scientific research. But the inciting incident then is Peter gets a team together to take Amy back to the Congo.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's, not to provide too many spoilers, but there's pretty touching, or it's supposed to be touching, ending where, Amy ends up in her rightful place at the end of the movie. And I think that kind of conveys that theme.
I do too. Yeah, that was nicely done.
Yeah. I think kind of along those lines, maybe there's like a little bit of a theme about humans and animals like interacting, not just communicating, but also like power dynamics between human beings and animals. Like the gray killer apes came to be because many, many years ago, like an ancient tribe found this mine, like a diamond mine, filled with all these riches. And then they bred these gorillas to be extremely violent and aggressive and just attack anybody that came near them. And then, of course, the apes turned on their masters, and that's how this kind of secretive race of primates came to be. And I don't think there's really all that much depth to that. I think it's just like we need a plot contrivance to like explain what these things are. But there's a little bit of like, humans thought they could control nature, and then, of course, nature rises up to bite them in the ass, essentially, which is kind of a theme of Jurassic Park, too.
Yeah, for sure.
So not original, but there, at least, it's present.
A movie like this, the genre just feeds on itself. So I'm not going to dock it points for that quote-unquote unoriginality.
Yeah.
But is it executed to the level of something else? That's something I'll get into in my breakdown later.
Yeah. Fair question. And the answer is probably no, but we'll find out more soon. And I do think one of the major questions of the movie, not necessarily like an intentional theme, but, what are we supposed to feel about the racial dynamics in this movie? Like, is it racist, essentially? And that's, that question's a little bit too easy and glib. I don't, it's a hard question to answer, but like we already talked about how the Ernie Hudson character is meant to like flip some of those outdated tropes on their head, like the great white hunter, like in this case is a black man who's leading all of these white people into the jungle who are pretty much inept, pretty much powerless if it weren't for him. So there's that little bit of like subversion there. And yet at the same time, you have depictions of like all these white Americans landing in Uganda and like immediately, as soon as they step off the plane, like entering into a civil war with like explosions and shootouts, and then they have to pay off this warlord to like get into the jungle. And you have like one of the warlords, like henchmen, like fondling Laura Linney's blonde hair. And it's like, how can the movie be like aware of these tropes and yet like play into them at the same time, you know?
Yeah. And I think the idea of the great white hunter, that exoticism, I mean, this is a topic of interest that I'm actually really interested in. And like you go back to the Tarzan novels from the early 20th century, but the 1800s, Europe's fascination with dark Africa, the heart of darkness, and this depiction that still lives in our, I think, general mental construct as in the Western world, white Westerners, we view the middle of Africa as this foreboding, dark place full of unknowns, and the people who live there are not as civilized and cultured, quote unquote. So I think, and so along those lines, I did read that Michael Crichton wanted to write such a pulpy story. Well, the trade-off for that is those pulp stories like Tarzan and others were written in another time.
Right.
Where all those stereotypes and tropes were based on a world construct that was very structured, stratified, whites versus everyone else. So you have a really hell of a time trying to update those conceits and tropes for a modern audience. And the 90s is modern enough to know better.
Right.
So I think it's just a tricky line. I'm not saying it can't be done. I think there are modern examples like Kong Skull Island. They depict the natives as like actual real people instead of monsters. But it's a tricky subject that I think you just have to be uber aware of. And I don't think Michael Crichton or Frank Marshall they're not interested in it. They're just like Temple of Doom route. Let's just go for the pulp. People of color. You're not people. You're not fleshed out characters. You're just here to serve the pulpy adventure.
Yeah.
You're like, well, does that pass muster these days? Who knows?
Yeah, probably not anymore, or at least it probably shouldn't, you know? And I think there are some other movies from the 90s that, you know, like The Mummy, which we talked about in the late 90s, I think kind of does a similar thing. Island of Dr. Moreau, which we talked about, kind of does a similar thing where it's like, you know, if those movies and Congo had been a little bit more like ambitious or sensitive, respectful, like maybe it would have gone into more depth about any of the characters of color or like what's actually going on in the civil war in Uganda, like what actually is the context of that. But like, yeah, these movies are not interested in that kind of like, you know, depth and complexity at all.
Right. So it's a product of its genre, which has all the trappings I just mentioned. So yeah. Definitely justified to bring all that up.
Yeah.
I
think in a movie like this, you kind of have to ask that question. And I think like, you know, if the creative team, if the director or the writer, you know, if any of them were artists of color, that might have helped a little bit too, like lend a certain perspective and a certain depth to this portrayal. And you know, I think nowadays, if this movie was made, that almost certainly would happen. And I think that would be a great thing. But like, yeah, this movie does not achieve that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything to talk about with the form and the aesthetic or any other themes that you wanted to bring up?
So Matt has a great point here. Other lines of dialogue refer to the killer ape cliche, referring specifically to King Kong, which is mentioned in the screenplay, and the idea that gorillas are dangerous. And Matt, as you say, though, that idea has larger racial connotations, which taps into exactly what we were talking about, those golden age gorilla pictures from the 20s, 30s, and 40s. And you know what? That's such a niche genre that I don't blame Marshall or John Patrick Shanley or Crichton for maybe not even realizing what the tradition they were inadvertently tapping into.
Yeah.
Like
That's
King
the point,
Kong's a perfect example because King Kong fits within that narrative of killer apes lusting after white women. We don't ever think about King Kong like that. And yet you dig not too far and it is exactly within that racial context. The weaponized racial context that white America put black people in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I don't think Congo even realizes what it's perpetuating.
Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah. I mean, I love a lot of Spielberg movies, but I feel like with the Indiana Jones movies, for example, you raised the point of Temple of Doom. Like, I think Spielberg and the producer George Lucas, like, wanted to like make their version of a 40s adventure serial. They did not go any deeper than that. Like, they weren't trying to like expose the deeper like social contexts of it, or subtexts or whatever. And it might have been nice if they had done so a little bit more, but like, not but, and like, I mean, they were just trying to make their version of the movies that they loved as a kid. And like, that's not to let them off the hook. They shouldn't get a free pass. Like, they should investigate some of those themes a little bit more. But I think you're totally right that Congo is doing the same thing.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I don't fault them for doing that because I also admittedly not the like overtly racist garbage that was produced by some of these Hollywood studios, but I do love King Kong and I do love Tarzan and I do love these action movies. I love Temple of Doom. So sue me, people.
No, same. That's the horror movie of the Indiana Jones trilogy, and I kind of love it for that reason,
Yeah. I'm just
Even
saying,
though there's a lot.
I love this stuff while also recognizing some question marks.
Exactly. And that's, I mean, you have to recognize both, like the good things about it and the bad things about it. And that's why movies are complicated. Like they're social texts,
Yeah.
And fun to talk about.
Ooh, here we go. Okay, so our breakdowns. The good, the bad, and the campy. Well, let's start with the good.
Yeah.
All right, you can start. You can lead off here.
There's legitimately a lot I like about this movie. I feel like it has a great sense of visual imagination. I think like when we do finally encounter the lost city of Zinj, it looks really fun, like in kind of like an amusement park way, but that's not necessarily a criticism. Like I think that's what the movie's going for. There's also a really good scene where like the whole crew is camping out and they have all these kind of like lasers set up and like automatic sentry guns. And that's like the first time they're really attacked by the gray killer ape gorillas. And that scene looks fantastic. It's beautifully lit, beautifully shot, really exciting. I love the camp humor in this movie. I think Tim Curry and Ernie Hudson especially like do a great job of delivering that. And I feel like most of that dialogue is intentionally supposed to be funny. Like some dialogue is just bad, there's no doubt about that. But like a lot of it I think is intentionally comedic. I mean, it's really entertaining. It's, I don't know. And like, I will admit, nostalgia does play a big role for me and how much I like this movie. But I don't know. It has a lot of imagination, a lot of humor. It's not boring for a second.
Yeah, I first of all, I think nostalgia is a valid reason to enjoy anything. So I wish I had it with this movie.
Ooh, ouch.
But I did like a lot about this movie. I loved the cast. Aside from Dylan Walsh, I actually liked the cast a lot. Like these aren't megastar actors, right? But they bring that intangible something to the screen. Tim Curry, Ernie Hudson, Laura Linney, all the supporting cast. I love Amy. And shout out again to the actors who portrayed the apes. But Amy is portrayed as a toddler in this movie and as someone who has a 1.5-year-old right now. It was so real. Like it was on the nose. How petty Amy is, and she gets jealous. She throws things at Laura Linney and calls her names. And just like, I'm like, yeah, that's what a toddler does. Throws little temper tantrums when they don't get their martinis. When they don't get what they want. So, yeah, I enjoyed that portrayal of Amy. Yeah, I love this is the campy thing that I love because it's so ridiculous. I don't know if it works, but who cares? The fact that we have a laser gun and we're slicing these gorillas in half, all while a volcano is erupting and there's a river of lava. I was like,
Yeah.
this jumped the shark in so many ways. And I love that. I wish movies would be more as bold as that sometimes. Because that's what you remember.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. So there's, you liked some stuff in it. That's good.
I
That's
like
good
some
to hear.
stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Well, I feel like you're gonna have more stuff in the bad category than I am. So, I do wish if this had been like a truly remarkable movie, it would have like questioned some of those racial tropes a little bit more. It would have like set this movie in like a recognizable real world where like the supporting characters are like real people and not just like exotic background, prey for the gorillas to attack. So I would have loved to have seen that. I'm just gonna leave it at that for the bad for me. Yeah.
Okay,
I'll
great. Do I have the floor? Sorry.
You do indeed.
I'm gonna try to be, as professional as possible, right? Because I think, is this movie easy to pick apart? Yes. Can I try to be as precise as possible? I will try. First of all, I think the problems start with the script, but not even that. I feel like you can have wonky and wooden dialogue, but the actors, I don't think they're phoning it in. I think Laura Linney her character is given moments of demanding real emotion. Like her fiance has been killed. And I could see Laura Linney, I could see her eye, like behind her eyes, she's thinking, I know I need to cry here. And she can't. She's just not even like she doesn't cry when she's supposed to. And she just acts. So it's just like very phoned in and wooden much of the time. Especially with her, 'cause she's supposed to be such an emotional anchor. For example, she finds the carcass of her fiance on a pile of bones, and we get nothing. And Frank Marshall's not interested. He just cuts away because it's just a plot point at that point. And I'm like, yo, this should be a really serious moment.
You're right that the movie doesn't have any interest in that. And like that is probably a flaw. But it's also like, let's get on to like the slicing apart monkeys with a laser,
Right. So my direction then, if I were the director, because I think a huge role of the director of a movie is the tone, right? So what is the tone of this movie? If you're not going to invest in the emotional moments, that's fine. You need to tell Laura Linney to stop trying so hard then. Like you need the actors on board then with that. Now, Tim Curry, he's fully on board with the tone of this movie. So much so that he's in his own movie. He's like he's like a Romanian circus carnival guy who comes in. I'm like, I love it. I'm here for it. But it's inconsistent with the rest with what other people are doing, I should say, what other actors are doing.
Yeah.
The accent's not great. But I can forgive it because Tim Curry knows the assignment.
Yep.
Ernie Hudson's accent is not great. He's doing a British thing. And sometimes he slips into just Ernie Hudson from Ghostbusters. I'm like, yeah, man, I don't know. Cut the accent or just like make it wildly over the top. See, I got really specific notes here. Dylan Walsh as Peter. You mentioned he's supposed to be like an anchor of this film.
Yeah.
There's a stretch of this movie where every one of his lines is something like, what's going on? Who's that? Where are we?
Yeah.
Look, you can be the stand-in for the audience, but this is so lazy.
Yeah. And I think in a couple of those instances, like other characters' responses are, I don't know, over and over again. And it's like, you could have cut all that out of the movie. We didn't need any of that. If you don't know, then what purpose does that serve,
And I love in a movie, and this is funny, this is campy, when unintentionally in a movie where your hero is in the middle of nowhere and he says, I'm out of here. I can't do this. I can't go any further. And that's what he does. And Ernie Hudson's like, where are you gonna go? Like, you're in the middle of the jungle. And I'm like, yeah, this doctor, this supposed man of intellect, is unbelievably clueless in my estimation.
Yeah. But then you're totally right. And but then I do kind of like how Ernie said, like you just said, Ernie Hudson is like, you dumbass, where are you gonna go? Like he's the only one who's competent out of all of them, and like maybe him and Laura Linney, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's like a deep theme of the movie, but it's like, oh, that's kind of fun. I enjoyed that, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is all just my my subjective opinion.
Of course, and I'm sorry I'm just offering my own rebuttal.
No, sorry. Yeah, it's not often I'm this critical with a movie. But it's so much fun to make fun of. I love it.
Yeah, totally.
Peter and Karen, the Dylan Walsh, Laura Linney characters, there's like 2 or 3 moments where maybe they're flirting with each other. Maybe there's some interest. That's wrong because her fiance is the whole incentive why she's going there. Her mission should be to save Bruce Campbell. And she forgets that a lot. So that's tone again. That's tone. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
This will they, won't they? Frank, Marshall, will you, won't you? Like you're waffling here and I need you to commit, buddy. Okay.
Fair, very fair. Yeah.
2 more things. This whole thing about the killer gorilla myth. Now, I could be wrong. I am not an expert on apes and gorillas. Supposedly, Dylan Walsh is. He plays Dr. He is so adamant about defending gorillas as peaceful creatures. Like, it's a major argument in the film.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about, like, what was the gorilla that was killed at the Cincinnati Zoo? Shot because a child fell into the gorilla enclosure.
Yeah.
Because from what I know, there is nothing peaceful about a gorilla. They are dangerous wild animals that could rip your head off. Like, literally. So I don't, and again, maybe that's not true. Maybe they are peaceful creatures. But that was like really bothering me that this primatologist was so adamant that gorillas are not capable of killing humans. I was like,
especially when all the evidence. Oh, sorry
No,
I was going to interject. Like there's like visual evidence that gorillas did kill these people. It's caught on camera. And Peter Elliott, the primatologist, is like, oh, it couldn't be. They're peaceful creatures. It's like, dude, look at the video. Like, clearly it is, you know? So proving your point, yes, it is ridiculous for sure.
So that was a little hard for me to buy, even in this movie. And that gorilla at the Cincinnati Zoo was Harambe. Justice for Harambe.
Sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that in like the 90s? Late 90s?
No, that was 2001, I think.
Okay.
Early 2020. Okay. My last note, this is a big overarching thing, because like at the end of this movie, I was thinking about like why am I left kind of not feeling anything? Like I want to feel like this was a movie that rocks and I want to watch it again. And I was thinking about The Mummy from 1999, because that's also a similar adventure type of story with a cast of characters, and you have quirky characters and you have emotional leads. Here's my analysis. In The Mummy, you have leads who are larger than life, but like what brings them together is a shared interest in each other and supporting each other, and there's a real sense of teamwork with those characters. In Congo, I realized none of the characters are interested in helping each other. I feel like they're all siloed in their own mission, but like any one of them could leave and go off on their own and nobody would miss each other.
Except for Laura Linney and Dylan Walsh, maybe. But maybe not. Who knows?
Maybe not.
Yeah. That's an interesting point, yeah. I feel like with some characters that kind of works, like the Monroe Kelly character and the Herkimer Homolka character. But yeah, it's an interesting point, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I'm a playwright too. So I look at relationships between characters. That's just how I'm trained. And I just think that could have been strengthened a lot to increase my investment in their investment in each other.
Yeah. All definitely fair criticisms. I was going to bring up The Mummy as well because I feel like you feel about The Mummy how I feel about Congo a little bit, you know? Like, I feel like our opinions have reversed a little bit where I'm like, yeah, this movie's not very good. And it's so fun. And I like it more than I should. Maybe because of like I remember seeing it when it first came out, you know, and like feeling of adventure and imagination that I had. And, you know, like I'm a little bit older than you. So maybe like, there's a gap of 4 years in between Congo and The Mummy, so maybe you had that same experience with The Mummy when you saw it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if maybe that plays a role in that, you know?
Maybe that's a movie I quote with my buddies, and I've seen it so many times, and yeah, that's nostalgia. As an informing our opinions, and that's okay.
I think it's totally okay. We should all, you know, like, as I think we're doing, like, objectively sort of like analyze the movie and figure out its strengths and weaknesses, but also everything is subjective. Like, your response to movies is autobiographical. And I think if you have that, like, nostalgic sort of maybe misguided response, it's like, yeah, embrace that, you know? That's part of your life. I love that. Not to get too, like, you know, fanciful about it, but you've already brought up some campy stuff. Any other camp humor that you wanted to mention?
Oh, yeah. What haven't I mentioned aside from Tim Curry and the lava and the laser gun?
Yeah. I love it.
I think the biggest camp line for me is at the end when Laura Linney is radioing back to her boss, also the father of the guy who was killed, and who is only interested in the diamonds, not interested in his son's death.
Yeah.
He yells, "Did you get the diamond?"
It's a good villainous thing to say.
It's just that the level is like at a 1 and immediately he goes to an 11 with that line. And it comes right at the end of the movie. It's just, yeah, like that's great. Love it.
Yeah, that's ridiculous for sure. The moment after that is also extremely ridiculous when like they have this huge diamond on the hot air balloon. This is giving away the ending, so I apologize. We can maybe cut this out. But like, you know, it's the end of the movie and like they have this huge diamond and they could just like sell it or give it to a museum. Like it would benefit them. But instead Laura Linney just makes this decision to be like, as a principled stand, I'm going to throw this diamond in the middle of nowhere in the African jungle. It's like, you've already escaped the gorillas. Just keep the diamond. Why would you do that? You know? I just thought that was so stupid. Maybe that's, you know, greedy of me, but ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous.
Knowledge was the real treasure all along.
You would hope the friendships they made along the way, but they didn't make any friendships, so I guess that's not the case, you know.
Yeah. There's a part where one of the gray gorillas loses its arm from this laser. And I was like, yes, this is the tone maybe the whole movie should have had. This is awesome.
Yeah, the gray gorillas probably should have appeared a little bit earlier. They're really just only in like the last 20 minutes of the movie, you know?
Yeah, that was also another thought I had. I would have liked to have seen more of the ostensible villains of this movie, the monsters, if you will. Otherwise, Amy's really the only strange beast in this movie. And she's fine. She gives she's great. She's drinking a martini.
Yeah, that moment's
that's camp. There it is.
I love it. Yeah, you're right. That's probably the campiest part of the whole movie. And also Laura Linney's line where she says, put him on the endangered species list right before she like mows down the gorillas with the laser. Sublime. I love that part so much.
So good. I could watch the last 20 minutes of this movie over and over and over again.
Yeah. And the pretty bad special effects. You already mentioned the lava and stuff like that. Yeah. I love it when Amy eats the banana with the like dope in it. There's even like a line about that where one of the scientists is like, you know, it's exactly what I just said basically. And I just thought that was ridiculous. Yeah. There's like a funny line too, where It's like trying to be funny. And I still don't know if it works or not, but like one guy is like, this is so Kafka when they're in like the warlord's like manor or whatever. And one of the henchmen is like, who the hell is Kafka? Tell me, who is Kafka? And I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. All right. That's pretty ridiculous.
That was funny. Yeah.
I like that moment. So there's some funny intentional humor, I think, here as well. But that's about all the campy stuff that I have.
I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of camp in this movie. And I think, well, okay, I'll save it for my final summation. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on.
Yeah, it's about that time. Yeah. So our ratings on Camp Kaiju, as always, our number 1 rating. It's a timeless classic. It definitely stands the test of time. Number 2, there may be some antiquated moments, but overall it's great. It stands the test of time. Number 3, it may be historically significant or just fun, but it does not stand the test of time. And our lowest rating, it is not worth revisiting. It definitely does not stand the test of time. Well, what do you think?
Okay. I'm going to be honest. I was torn between it not standing the test of time at all, like don't even watch this movie, or there are some fun moments. I'm not going to say it's historically significant, but I will say there are some fun moments. As a film by its own merits, I don't think it stands the test of time, but I think there are enough entertaining moments, intentionally or not, that make this worth watching, especially with a group of friends. I think for me, I think I thought I was going to watch something more serious in tone, something more horrific in tone, maybe like The Relic. And instead, I got something way more lighthearted, way sillier than I thought I was going to get. And I think that messed with my ultimate viewing of this film.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's definitely lighthearted. I wouldn't say it's scary at all, even remotely. I'm tempted to give it our highest rating just to like stick up for this movie, but I'm not going to do that. I will not do that. That's just ridiculous. But I am going to give this our second highest rating. I do think it stands the test of time, in my opinion. I will fully recognize that a lot of that might just be like, you know, my personal experience and history with the movie, the nostalgic love that I have for it. But I do think it has a lot of imagination, a lot of camp humor that I find really entertaining. I do like several of the performances a lot. I like Ernie Hudson, Tim Curry. I like Laura Linney, even if her character is like non-existent, like doesn't make any sense. I definitely get all that. But I don't know. I do feel the need to, like, I want to stick up for it a little bit. And I really do love, like, you know, popcorn entertainment of the 90s because it feels so different from like most of the like big budget blockbusters that we see nowadays. So I don't know. This is not a very good movie objectively, and yet I still love it. I think it's great in its own way. For me, it almost gets better as time goes on. So for me, it does stand the test of time.
That's great. If this movie is ever playing on a screen, I'm there. I'm going to be first in line.
Yeah. But yeah, like in a theater, I bet it would be so much fun to watch. And like, you know, at home with some friends, like you said, I think that would be great. Yeah. I've had that viewing many times. Cool. I actually kind of like when we disagree a little bit. We can't agree on everything, you know?
We'll see. Yeah. I mean, I think our upcoming lineup is going to offer more of this diverging opinion type of conversation.
Yeah.
And I can't wait. I'm excited.
Me too. Yeah. Starting with Jaws 2, our next episode.
Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah. I never understood the full title of Jaws 2, Electric Boogaloo. Where does the Boogaloo come in? I guess we'll find out.
We'll find out.
Next episode. Yeah.
Might be a French thing. Who knows?
Yeah, probably. That'll be great. I'm excited for Jaws 2. Thank you all so much for hanging out, friends. Please rate and review wherever you listen. You can also share this podcast with a friend, subscribe to the website, and send us listener comments at campkaiju@gmail.com or on Instagram. Links are in the show notes. If you would like to be a featured voice on the show, leave a voicemail at 612-470-2612, telling us about your favorite monster movies and memories. Please check out our website, campkaijupodcast.com, for more information. Camp Kaiju was recorded in Minneapolis, St. Paul with Nina's Mailbox music by Ben Cook Feltz. Thanks, friends, and until next time, stay campy. Camp Kaiju is sponsored by Zach Linder and the Zach Pack, powered by Coldwell Banker Realty, your source for real estate, home rehab, fixing and flipping for investor clients, and residential buyers. Reach out to the Zach Pack today for real estate services, follow the Zach Pack on social media, and contact the Zach Pack for investment opportunities. Links in the show notes.
That's not my fault. Where's my gorilla?
The gorilla will be kept on the truck while we do this a hospital? So this one's decided to speak.
This is pure Kafka.
Who's Kafka? Tell me!